Ladies and gentlemen, it seems we have a little bit of a problem. As I've been speaking to people more and more on the forum, on the membership site, the Richard GRANNON Inner Circle over on SpartanLifeCoach.com, I'm coming up against the same problem again and again. And it's one of these pieces of the puzzle that I think I left out early on in the design of these courses. There is an assumption, because I'm a human being, same as you, so I exist solipsistically inside my own head, and the projections and the simulations I make of other people who are following the work are based on me, and they're based on my experience. Of course, everybody's work is infected with that solipsism. One piece of the puzzle that was pretty essential that I didn't focus on, because for me it was a given, is that in the process of seeking to heal from any trauma, if you've identified that you think you have some element of CPTSD, you really, really must have a very good relationship with yourself. Your ability to relate to your own self to self, is critical, because the scale and the scope of the work that needs to be done is so big. There are no panaceas. There are no quick fixes. If the damage that was done, if it was done in childhood and you couldn't escape and it went on for years, as we know, your neuroplasticity is at its highest in childhood. So you were wired around trauma. Even if it happened in adulthood, if it was a relationship or a job or an institution that you couldn't escape from, you're still rewiring around the traumatic experience. Recovery from that, we should assume, is a fairly big task. These are not superficial or cosmetic problems, so they don't have superficial or cosmetic solutions. For the coaches, for the therapists, I think this is a conversation that we need to be having openly with clients so that we can manage expectations and we can say, hey, look, this is the level. This is what you've experienced. This is the extent of the impact on you as a human being. So as you're coming out of this and seeking to heal from it, we need to use a model that is rooted in neurobiology. If your neuroplasticity was very high when this happened, and you're neurologically wired for this, you've set down neural pathways for survival from trauma, what's the way that we change neural pathways? And you might say at this point, well, hang on a second, I don't necessarily agree that we have to change neural pathways. And I would say, if you want lasting change in your client, if you want lasting change for yourself, the job is nothing less. You must set down new neural pathways, because the trauma-based pathways have become what we would say in layman's terms, habits, but they're deeper than habits because they're unconscious. Unconscious habits that play out again and again and again that may have been appropriate survival mechanisms and strategies in the traumatic situation are maladaptive outside of the traumatic situation. They make it hard for you to go to the supermarket. They make it extremely taxing for you to show up to lectures at university or to go and do a normal job. And as for intimate relationships, I mean, it's not, for some of us, not all of us, it's just not within the realm of possibility. And this is down to neurological conditioning. So our job then, the premise I'm working from is, we must recondition. We have to recondition the old neural pathways. What does that take? It's the same as martial arts training or strength training. It takes time and repetition. Time and repetition. Time and repetition. It's a skill. It's a strength. You're not sick. I can't cure you. There's no cure because you're not sick. Your therapist can't cure you because you're not sick. They can condition you. They can help you to condition yourself. But with time and patience and compassion, you can see great results. If it takes time and reps, you need a different mindset, you need a different approach. And what are you going to do whilst you're putting in the time and putting in the reps? Are you going to torture yourself? Are you going to make it as hard as possible? Are you going to bully yourself? Are you going to be like an angry, sadistic drill instructor? You can, if you want to, try it that way. I mean, it's your body, it's your brain. You can do whatever you like. I personally wouldn't do it that way. Before I did this, I was teaching martial arts I've got about 20 years experience of teaching martial arts. Whilst I wasn't the kind of instructor who wanted to be your best mate and have a giggle with you, I never yelled at anybody because I didn't see it as useful. I didn't bully people because I didn't see it as helping to create the end goal, which is strength and skill. We need to find a word that combines these two. It's kind of a strength skill. They have that word in Russian. We don't have it in English, but it's two things together, strength and skill. These are attributes that you develop over time. So here's the problem. In the CPTSD community, let's say, to the extent that there is one, in the collective of people who are traumatized, how do they speak to themselves during this process of reconditioning, which takes place over time and involves a ton of reps. It's day after day after day after day. Because if you went through your childhood being conditioned day after day after day after day after day, is it reasonable for me to say, oh, we can change this in an afternoon? I mean, you might be able to with an extremely traumatic experience or very high dosages of psychedelics, but that's outside the realm of any kind of work I'm prepared to do with people because, well, it's high reward, but it's also extremely high risk. And I just wouldn't touch it. The safer, more organic way, more health and safety approved way is to do it over time. Consistent action over time. So if you're going to engage in the discipline of consistent action over time in order to create the new strengths and the new skill and the attributes that move you forward to create this state that we can say is healing from trauma or healed from trauma or whatever we want to call it, better, you want to be better. Like if you struggle to go to the shops because you're crushed by depression when you buy milk and start crying, or you want to have a job but getting on public transport exhausts you, you want better than that. And these objectives, you can set them however you like. If your objective is, at the moment, I can't go outside and I'd like to be able to go outside, then for you going outside was a win. You conditioned yourself to be able to do a thing that you couldn't previously do. Every single piece of progress is progress. All progress is completely legitimate. But you are present. You are the common denominator, not me, not my courses, not your coach, not your therapist. You will always be there. So you can either be showing up for yourself, bullying, critical, sadistic, and aggressive, or you can be showing up for yourself in a way that is kind and compassionate and guiding. You must guide yourself through this process. I've taken a couple of notes here. It's critical that your attitude towards yourself during this process would mirror or simulate the kind of attitude you would hope to see in a parent with a child. There are loads of different models that suggest, a trinity or at least multiple parts within inside of a person. The classic one is the Freudian trinity: the self, the overself, and then the child or instinct or id. Ego, superego, id. These parts all communicate. They negotiate. Sometimes they fight for dominance. Sometimes they're not congruent with each other and they create problems. When the superego, or Über-Ich, as it was in German, or overself, is toxic, you have what we call an inner critic. If during your healing process, over time and with repetition, as you're moving forward, it's the inner critic that is driving you forward, it will be exhausting and it will ultimately burn out your patience and your willpower. Multiple psychological studies have shown that willpower is never enough. Willpower is finite. Willpower will eventually burn out. You need something more than that. Gritting your way through things, toughing your way through things, pretending you're a Navy SEAL and swearing and getting adrenalized? Maybe. Sometimes. You want a dramatic afternoon of therapy? Go for your life. But these are the strategies of cults. These are the strategies of consumer capitalist seminars that are promising you a bigger yacht. It's neuroses. It's really sick. And then you become trauma bonded to that high adrenaline, exciting environment where you had breakthroughs, where you experienced tragedy, comedy, high drama. It's trauma bonding. You're being trauma bonded to a very dangerous way of moving forward. Yes, people have breakthroughs. Yes, sometimes they actually do heal under those circumstances. But again, it's very, very high risk, very high reward. And I don't know what the proportion is. I don't know how many people fall by the wayside. I don't know how many people are broken by that experience because they can't meet the requirements of that environment and they just feel useless afterwards. This way that I'm suggesting with this course, the coaches and the people and the therapists and the people who are looking to do it on your own, you can set it to your level with total nuance. Nobody's watching you. Nobody's judging you outside of your relationship with your coach and your therapist. You agree ahead of time, objectives that you can stick to, and this is how you move forward. If you know me, you'll know I don't use the term love all that much because I think it's an abused term. I think it's come to mean too many things. It's overused. The button is pushed too frequently. This course is a first for me because it's called the Loving Self-Guidance course. Why? Because in this case, we need to be very explicit that when you are communicating with yourself from self to self, it must be loving. Now, you want to do the drill instructor bit, the crazy Navy SEAL thing? You can, but it needs to be within the context of ultimately it's loving, and it's a way that you would feel comfortable a parent would speak to their child with. If you're not comfortable with that, if you're like, this is outside of what I'd be comfortable either doing as a parent or if I saw a parent doing this to a child, don't do it. Don't speak to yourself the way you would never speak to a child. If you're the type of person who would never swear at a child, demean a child, kick a child, bully a child into doing things faster, why would you do that to yourself? So what we saw, or what I have seen in this, as I'm working through the questions on the forum, is people getting very aggressive with themselves, getting very irritated, getting very impatient. I saw multiple cries of, how long do I have to do this for? When is the end in sight? I'm so sick of being strong. Like, dude, chill. What do you think that's doing for you? Do you think that's creating a space for you internally in which you can do the work with repetition over time so that you can recondition these neural pathways? Or do you think you're just frightening and shaming yourself into submission? I would suggest it's the latter rather than the former. It's really not helping. So with this course, we have to be absolutely explicit that it's loving. Loving doesn't mean passive. Loving doesn't mean pushover. It's loving and assertive. If a parent loves their child, they don't say yes, yes, yes. They also say no. So you set boundaries with yourself. You must push yourself to a degree, but not to breaking point. And that it's you that's guiding you. You need to have the mindset of this is a process. It's going to take time. Nobody can tell me when it's going to be over. It doesn't work like that. The more I tighten up, get aggressive and angry with myself or with my coach or with the course or with me, who you don't even know, I'm frustrated and cranky, the longer it's going to take. Because you're knocking yourself out of the space in which you can heal. You can only ever really heal if you're present. You can only ever really heal if you're in the moment. So if you're angering against somebody and you're frustrating against a thing which isn't even there, that's not healing. It's not going to move you forward. So you have to be patient and you have to learn a new way of motivating yourself. Many of us have bullying ourselves as a primary strategy for motivation, and we have to let go of that. It's not the way things get done. It's not the way good managers operate in the real world, in business. It's not the way high-level coaches work at the highest levels of athletics. It's not even the way it works in the military. You see all that stuff in the movies. That's for raw recruits. The more specialized you get in the infantry, the less screaming and shouting and bullying goes on, because it doesn't do anything. At that level, why would I scream at a bunch of specialists in whatever they're doing? It would be like me screaming at a bunch of brain surgeons because I'm the boss of the hospital. I was in the middle of an operation, just screaming and bullying them, saying, hurry up, hurry up. What good is that going to do? You need to change the way you think about yourself, and you need to change the way you think about this process. If you can embrace this process, if you do this course, as I say, it can work with a coach, with a therapist, you can work together on it. There's 5 steps, but the first step is learning to distinguish between when you are coming from a loving place of guidance and when you are coming from a place of judgment and bullying. You judging yourself, screaming at yourself, calling yourself names, saying, hurry up and heal, you idiot. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's a really bad strategy. So distinguishing between the two, having that internal boundary, having that clarity to be able to say, okay, I'm coming from the inner critic right now. So anything that I'm hearing inside of my own head is immediately invalid. The only place I can come from, if I want to see the progress that I'm so frustrated and impatient to get to, it can only come through loving self-guidance. That's it. There is no other way. With this course, it explicitly teaches you how to speak to yourself through the process. You talk yourself through the process. You guide yourself through the process in a calm and kind voice. Yes, you will be taught to be assertive. Yes, you have to hit deadlines. You have to hit targets. But they're your targets to set. If it's twice a day, 2 minutes a day, that's still a target. It's only 2 minutes. It's only twice a day, but it's something. It's consistent daily action over time. That's what yields the results. That's what will bring us to that acquisition of the attributes, the skills, and the strengths we need to get into the state we're looking for that we'll just call generically better. Better than yesterday. Better than last year. That's progress and that's valid. It will teach you to be more supportive of yourself. You have to be there for you. You can't abandon yourself during this process. This will trigger more inner critic, what are called superego injunctions, so more bad verbiage and condemnation and judgment and name calling from the superego, from the inner critic. And you will also go into more emotional flashbacks, because many people's emotional flashbacks are rooted in a fear of abandonment. So you can't afford the luxury of screaming at yourself. It's a luxury. You can't afford it. You must be supportive. You have to be there for yourself. You have to remain present for your own self. If you abandon yourself, it's going to take a lot longer and you're going to have a lot more problems. And it's going to be more painful to get things done. If you do want to heal faster and you do want to heal in a more pleasant way with more ease, because I just don't see that this work needs to be harder than it already is. I'm not a masochist, and I don't suggest you be a masochist either. I don't see anything meaningful in suffering. So don't suffer more. You're only here because you already suffered. All the suffering you already did, let's you and I make an agreement right now. You paid. That's enough. That's enough suffering. Healing, therapy, doesn't need to be re-traumatizing. We should seek to make it, I know a lot of these subjects are tough and they're hard and it's unpleasant. We need to make it worse, more dramatic, more tragic. If you can make it easier and more fun, make it as easy and fun and light and good-humored as you possibly can. So have it in your mind, and this course will teach you how to do this, and it will show you some tips for doing that, to heal with ease and as quickly as possible. You want to be making progress quickly and easily through being loving and guiding yourself through it. You will also experience, it's called improved executive function. It means that, let's say like the cockpit of the craft that you are the captain of, which is your brain, your mind, your body, your life. At the moment, if you're traumatized, it's probably a bit of a mess in there. If you think of like the deck of the Starship Enterprise, instead of people in nice uniforms sat neatly at their little appointed stations, it's just a mess. It's a load of noise. That makes it very hard to do anything, let alone healing. You must improve these internal boundaries so that that inner space is a little bit cleaner and a little bit clearer, because it's enormously stressful trying to get anything done. As I said, and I've lived this, if you struggle to go to the shop to buy milk, how are you going to be doing exercises on emotional literacy at home on your own? Exploring how you feel about the traumatic event with the person who broke your heart, or your relationship with your father, or whatever it was. Your executive function needs to be improved. The ability to process information, think clearly, feel clearly, all needs to be improved, and this course will help you with that. In a sense, my hope for this course is that it be a catalyst in your healing, that this course alone will cause you to heal faster and more fully. As I say, whatever healing is, all progress is progress. As long as you're doing better than yesterday, as far as I'm concerned, you're winning. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Cheers.